remember the sound first. Not the music, not the laughter, just the clink, the faint metallic sound of a ring hitting the floor, and the way my sister gasped. Everyone turned toward her. Toward them. And I stood frozen, a champagne glass in my hand, my heart bleeding in slow motion, because that ring, that diamond ring on the velvet box I knew too well, it was mine, the same one he had proposed to me with just 6 months ago. But now he was on one knee again. Same ring, same words. Different girl, my sister. And all I could do was stare, smile plastered, nails digging into my palm, tasting blood before the tears even came. People were clapping. Phones were out. The air was full of those fake gasps people make when they're watching someone else's happiness. Only I knew the truth. Only I knew the ghost under that golden light. My fiancé, Daniel, and my sister, Claire, were engaged. He looked up at her with those same eyes that once whispered forever to me. And she looked down at him like she'd never seen me before. It wasn't even shock anymore. It was humiliation, the kind that burns deeper than betrayal because it's public, because it's family. I remember my mother's voice slicing through the crowd. "Oh my God, Claire! You didn't tell us!" And Claire just laughed, that high, breathless laugh she always used when she was pretending to be surprised. "I didn't want to ruin the moment," she said. And then, looking right at me, "I hope you don't mind, sis." The world tilted. And I smiled. Because that's what you do when your world ends. You smile so no one sees you crumble. Inside, my thoughts were chaos. How long? When did this start? Was it before or after that night he said he loved me more than anyone else? I wanted to scream, to throw the ring box across the room, to ask him, why her? Why her? But I didn't, because something inside me, something dark, quiet and almost serene, told me not to. Instead, I walked to the bar, ordered another glass of champagne, and watched as my ex-fiancé kissed my sister in front of everyone who ever mattered. It was like watching my own life get recycled. Every smile, every word, every gesture, copied and pasted onto her. She wore my dream like a dress that didn't fit. And yet everyone cheered. That night I didn't cry, not once. I just lay awake, staring at the ceiling, feeling the ghost of his touch fading from my skin. But when the morning came, I noticed something strange. My phone was buzzing. Messages from friends, coworkers, even strangers, screenshots, photos. The proposal had gone viral, my sister and my ex-fiancé trending, and in one of those pictures, one, that a guest must have taken too early, I saw something that made my blood run cold. Daniel wasn't looking at Claire. He was looking at me right through the crowd, right into my eyes, and he was smiling. That's when I realized this wasn't an accident. It wasn't love. It was a message, a warning, or maybe an invitation. He proposed to my sister using my ring. But that wasn't even the worst part, because what I found out next made me question everything, including who was really being played. I didn't leave the party right away. I couldn't. Everyone was still talking, still smiling, still pretending this was normal. My family was hugging, congratulating, gushing over the happy couple. And there I was, standing in the corner, invisible, the girl who had lost her fiancé to her own sister. People whispered when they thought I couldn't hear. Some said, "She's handling it so gracefully." Others said, "I would have killed them both." Graceful. That word tasted bitter. Because grace was just another word for powerlessness. When I finally slipped out, the night air felt thick. I walked until the lights faded behind me, until I couldn't hear their laughter anymore. My heels dug into the pavement, every step echoing like a heartbeat I didn't recognize. I didn't cry that night either. I thought I would, but the tears refused to come. Instead, there was this hollow kind of stillness, the calm that comes after a storm destroys everything you own. When I got home, my phone was still buzzing. Texts, missed calls. One from Mom, "Please don't make a scene. Let's talk tomorrow," as if I was the problem. As if my silence was violence. And then there was one message from Daniel, just one line. I hope you understand. Understand what? That he used me? That he looked my sister in the eyes and gave her the ring meant for me? I stared at the message for a long time, my thumb hovering over the screen. Then I typed back, no, but I will, and I meant it. The next morning, everything was quieter. Too quiet. The kind of silence that hums under your skin, telling you something's coming. Claire called me. Her voice was sugar. Too sweet, too careful. Hey, I just wanted to check on you. I almost laughed. Check on me? Like she hadn't just stolen my future in front of our entire family? But I didn't say that. Instead, I said, congratulations. And I could almost hear her exhale in relief, like she'd been scared I might ruin her little fairy tale. Then she said it. The thing that shattered whatever was left of my restraint. I know it's weird, but you're still going to be my maid of honor, right? My hand tightened around the phone. The audacity in her voice, that assumption that I would stand by her side while she married him. I wanted to scream, to tell her no, to tell her exactly what she was. But instead I smiled into the silence and said, of course, because suddenly, I didn't want to ruin her fairy tale. I wanted to rewrite it. I spent that day digging, through old photos, old messages, the things I hadn't noticed before. And what I found made everything worse. Screenshots from months ago. Texts between them, hidden under fake names. Little jokes that used to sound familiar, because they were ours. Conversations I thought were private between Daniel and me, mirrored word for word in her texts. She had copied me. Every message, every habit, every secret. She had stolen pieces of me until she became the version of me he wanted. But Daniel wasn't innocent either. His messages had a pattern, calculated, rehearsed. Like he was testing us. Like we were both part of something bigger. That's when it hit me. This wasn't just betrayal. This was manipulation. He hadn't fallen for her by accident. He had chosen this, step by step, moment by moment. And I wasn't just collateral damage. I was part of the experiment. That night, I opened my journal, the one I hadn't touched in months, and wrote just one line. You broke the wrong heart. Because for the first time since that proposal, I wasn't broken. I was awake, and I was going to find out why he did it. Every lie, every secret, every reason he wanted me humiliated, because something told me. This wasn't the end of the story. It was the beginning of something much darker. He played us both, my sister and me. But what he didn't know was that I had just started playing too. People think heartbreak fades quietly, that it slips away in sleep and time and self-help quotes. But mine didn't fade. It sharpened. Every morning after that proposal, I woke up with the same question pounding in my chest. Why? Why my sister? Why me? Why that ring? Answers don't fall from the sky. You dig for them. And I did. Quietly, methodically, like I was sifting through the ashes of my own life for the spark that started the fire. I began with Daniel's phone records. He'd left an old bill in one of my boxes, back when we were still us. Same number. Same password. He never imagined I'd look again. Late-night calls to a private contact, always after midnight. Always on nights he claimed he was working late. But it wasn't just Claire. There were others, different cities, different numbers. Each contact saved under the same name. Hope. My stomach turned. Hope was my middle name. The next piece came from social media. A pattern of posts, smiling women tagged in his photos, then gone a few weeks later. Same captions, slightly tweaked. Couldn't imagine life without her. Lucky man. Every picture like a copy of the one before. Daniel didn't fall in love. He collected it. And I had been just another exhibit in his little museum of devotion. I drove to my parents' house that afternoon. Claire was there, of course, flashing her new ring while Mom fussed over wedding plans. Everything smelled like vanilla candles and delusion. Hey, Claire said, waving like we were still 10 years old. Her smile didn't reach her eyes. You okay? I looked at her. really looked. Her shoulders were tense, fingers twitching around that ring. She wasn't happy. She was performing. I sat down across from her. "Did Daniel ever tell you about Hope?" I asked. Her face froze. "What?" "Never mind," I said, standing up. "Forget I asked." The silence that followed told me everything I needed to know. She knew, and she was scared. That night, I got a message from a stranger. No profile picture, just a name, Sophie. "You don't know me, but you need to be careful. He does this to everyone," my breath caught. I replied instantly. "Who are you?" "The one before you," she wrote. And before her. I stared at her words until they blurred. Then another message came. "Meet me, tomorrow, 6 p.m., the cafe on 12th. The cafe smelled like burnt espresso and rain. Sophie sat by the window, a scarf pulled around her face, eyes darting like she expected him to appear any second. She didn't look dangerous. She looked drained. "He ruins people," she said quietly. "Emotionally, financially. He makes them believe they're special, then tears them apart. And he always moves on to someone close to them, someone who'll hurt more. Family," I whispered. She nodded. For me, it was my best friend. I felt the air leave my lungs. "The same pattern, the same script. How do you know about me?" I asked. Sophie slid her phone across the table. "A photo, Daniel and Claire. The proposal night, posted by someone else. Captioned, 'He finally found the one.' Again. He doesn't just want love," she said. "He wants power. He watches how you react when he destroys it." When I left the cafe, the city lights looked different, colder, hungrier. The rain soaked through my jacket, but I barely felt it. Because now I knew what I was dealing with. Daniel wasn't a man in love. He was a collector of reactions. And I had given him exactly what he wanted. Silence. Not anymore. That night, I started planning. Every lie had a pattern. Every predator had a weakness. I just had to find his. I pulled up Sophie's messages again. One line stood out. "He always keeps something, proof, control." Something inside me twisted. Because if that was true, then maybe Daniel still had something of mine. And if he did, I was going to take it back. I thought I'd seen the worst of him. But what I found next, hidden in the photos he kept, showed me just how far he'd already planned to go. When people say closure, they mean peace. But peace doesn't come from walking away. Sometimes it comes from walking back in, with your eyes open this time. That night, I couldn't sleep. Sophie's words kept echoing in my head. He always keeps something. Proof, control, control. That was Daniel's favorite word. He used to say it softly, like a promise. I just like having things under control. I thought he meant order. Now I knew he meant ownership. By 2 a.m., I was at my desk with his old laptop, one he'd forgotten to take when he left. He used to work on it every night, guarding it like a diary. I'd never dared to open it. Until now. Password, Hope 1124, my birthday. Of course, the desktop was empty except for one folder. Forever. The word made my skin crawl. Daniel didn't use forever as a promise. He used it as a threat. I clicked, photos, hundreds of them. Faces I didn't recognize. Different women. Different smiles. Each folder had a name. Each name had a story. And every story ended the same. Screenshots of texts, intimate photos, love notes, all cataloged like trophies. Then I found one labeled Hope. My hands shook as I opened it. Inside, a photo of me sleeping. A video of us laughing in the kitchen, unaware of the phone propped on the counter. My old diary pages photographed. A message thread between me and Claire. He'd saved everything, but one file stood out. Unnamed, out of order. A single video clip. When I pressed play, my blood went cold. The video opened to Daniel sitting in his car, recording himself. The camera was steady, his voice calm. "She's finally breaking," he said. "You can see it in her eyes. It's always the same before the end. They cry, then they beg, then they disappear." He smiled. That slow, careful smile. The one I once thought meant love. And now it's her sister's turn. The screen went black. I sat there for what felt like hours, numb, shaking, watching that smile on loop. Every memory I'd ever loved suddenly looked different, rewritten under a new light. He'd planned it all. Every gesture, every touch, every accident. He wasn't just destroying me, he was documenting it. I backed up everything onto a flash drive. If he wanted control, I'd take it from him first. Then, as I ejected the drive, something else caught my eye. A small text file buried at the bottom of the Forever folder. It wasn't named after a woman. It was named Next. Inside there were notes, dates, locations, names. The next target wasn't Claire. It was my mother. Vulnerable, lonely, wants to believe in second chances. My chest tightened. He was moving through my family one by one, and if I didn't stop him, she'd be next. I called Sophie immediately. "He's still active," I said, my voice trembling. "He's planning something new." With my mother, there was silence on the line. Then she said softly, "Then you can't just expose him. You have to trap him. The way he traps you, that's when it began, my plan. No tears, no begging, just precision. I would make Daniel believe he was winning, let him think he still had control. And then when he leaned too far into his own game, I'd turn the camera on him. For the first time since he left, I wasn't afraid. Because the moment I hit record, the story stopped being his and started being mine. They say revenge is cold, but mine burned, quietly, patiently, like a slow flame under ice. After I found that folder, after I saw his plans for my mother, something in me shifted. The version of me he'd broken? She was gone. The new me didn't cry. She calculated. The first rule of revenge: never let them know they've lost you. So I became exactly what Daniel expected: sweet, remorseful, reachable. I texted him. After months of silence. "Hey, I've been thinking about everything. I miss the way we understood each other." Daniel. "Hope? Wow. Didn't expect to hear from you." Me. "Guess I'm just tired of hating." "Maybe we both made mistakes." Daniel. "That's mature of you. Want to talk?" That was the thing about Daniel. He couldn't resist being admired. Even fake admiration. We met at a cafe downtown. The same place where he'd once told me he loved me, right before disappearing with my sister. He walked in like a ghost I'd forgotten how to fear. Still in control. Still smiling. "You look good," he said, scanning me like I was something to evaluate, not someone to miss. "You too," I lied. "So, what made you reach out?" I realized maybe I wasn't blameless. I pushed too hard. Expected too much. He smiled satisfied. Because I was giving him exactly what he wanted, my guilt. "Maybe you've grown up," he said. "Maybe I finally understand you," I whispered, and that's when I slipped my phone, recording, under the napkin. He talked for 2 hours. About himself, of course. About how he'd moved on, but still cared. How people like me never truly let go. Every word was bait. And he took all of it. "You know," he said finally, "your sister still brings you up. She feels bad." "She should." "You really hurt her too, Hope. You made it hard for her to choose." Choose. That word sliced through me like glass, but I kept my face calm. Tilted my head. Smiled. Maybe she was never meant to choose at all. He froze for a second, then smirked. That's the Hope I remember. Always trying to sound deep. And then, like the predator he was, he leaned forward. "You still think about me, don't you?" I met his eyes and said softly, "Every single day." He didn't realize what I meant. That night, I sent the recording to Sophie. She knew exactly what to do with it. She was working with a private investigator now, someone who specialized in digital evidence. Someone who could trace how Daniel used women's photos, files, and recordings online. We were building a case quietly, piece by piece, but I needed more. Something he didn't even know he'd given me. The next step was riskier. I texted him again late at night. Me, I've been thinking about us. Could we start over? Just dinner. No pressure. Daniel, you sure about that? Me, I want closure. He agreed immediately, because Daniel never turned down an audience. 2 days later, I met him at his apartment. Different place, same energy. Cold, perfect, staged. He poured me wine, made small talk. And then, when I wasn't looking, his phone buzzed, the name flashing on the screen, Mom. My chest tightened. He was already talking to her, already weaving his web. Your mom reached out, he said casually. She seemed lonely. I was just being nice. My fingers tightened around the glass. Nice? She said you never visit. I thought maybe I could help. I looked up at him, forcing my voice steady. You really are everywhere, aren't you? He grinned. Only where I'm wanted, I leaned in. Then let's make sure you stay exactly there. He didn't know I had a miniature camera in my bag, recording everything. That night, as he tried to charm me, the camera caught it all. His words, his manipulation, the messages popping up from my mother, the lies, the patterns. It was enough to destroy him. But it still wasn't enough for me, because I didn't just want him exposed. I wanted him cornered. When I left his apartment, the air outside felt heavy, electric, like the world was holding its breath. Sophie called as I walked home. Did you get what we need? I got more than that, I said. He's already talking to my mother. Then it's time, Hope. We go public. But I wasn't ready. Not yet, because before I destroyed him, I wanted him to see me rise. He thought he'd trapped me again. He didn't realize I was already pulling the strings. The next move wasn't his. It was mine. The morning after I left Daniel's apartment, I didn't cry. I didn't tremble. I stood in front of my mirror, looked at the woman staring back. And I barely recognized her. My eyes weren't sad anymore. They were sharp, cold, alive. He had broken me once, yes, but he had also built something he couldn't control, a version of me that wasn't made for him anymore. She was made to end him. That week, I began my transformation. Not the kind you post on Instagram. Not filters and dresses and fake smiles. This was the kind that started inside your bones, where anger turns to focus and grief turns into fuel. I started running again. I ate like I deserved to stay alive. I looked at my reflection and stopped apologizing for existing. Then I began to rebuild my name. Sophie helped me relaunch my art page, one Daniel had mocked into silence. He used to call it your little hobby. But now, I painted like my soul had teeth. Within weeks, people started noticing. Commissions, comments, messages from people who said my art felt like revenge in color. They didn't know how literal that was. Every painting carried a secret, a symbol of Daniel. Hidden, twisted, burned, reclaimed. Sophie laughed when she saw one. You're turning your trauma into a brand. No, I said quietly. I'm turning him into a ghost. And then the strangest thing happened. Daniel reached out again. Daniel, you've been busy, huh? Me, just living. Daniel, I saw your art thing, impressive. Me, funny, you never thought so before. Daniel, maybe I underestimated you. My chest tightened. There it was again, his game. Compliment, control, confusion. But this time I didn't play small. Me, you did. And you'll regret that. I hit send. And for the first time, he didn't reply. 2 days later, I saw him. At one of my gallery showings, he was standing near the back, hands in pockets, fake smile in place, scanning the crowd like he owned it. But something was different. People weren't looking at him. They were looking at me. He approached me slowly, voice smooth as ever. You've changed, he said. That's what pain does, I replied. He smiled, trying to test the air between us. I liked the old you. Of course you did, I said. She was easy to control. His smile faltered for just a moment. And that was enough. Later that night, Sophie and I went through the footage from the cafe and the apartment. Every smirk, every lie, every manipulation. We compiled it into one seamless narrative, his words against himself. It was almost poetic. He had documented women his whole life. Now he'd documented his own downfall. But before releasing anything, I needed something else, a confession. One that showed intent. So I crafted a message carefully, like a loaded gun disguised as a text. Me, do you ever feel bad about what happened between us? The things you said? Daniel, why would I? You wanted everything too fast. Me, even with Claire? You don't think that was wrong? Daniel, she wanted it as much as I did. You know how women are. You, her, your mom, so desperate to be loved, you'll take whatever I give you. I stared at the message, my breath freezing. There it was. The arrogance. The confession. The proof of what he thought of us all. I screenshotted it. Sent it to Sophie. She just replied with 3 words. It's time, Hope. That night, I posted one of my new paintings. It was dark and golden and full of hidden faces. His faces fragmented. The caption read, "Some monsters teach you how to become the light they fear." It went viral. Within hours, people were asking questions. Who inspired it? What did it mean? I didn't answer, not yet. I wanted him to sweat, and he did. Because the next morning, Daniel called me. "What are you doing?" he asked, voice low, controlled. "Living my truth," I said. "Don't play games with me, Hope." "Oh, Daniel," I whispered, smiling. "That's all I've ever done. Play your game. I just finally learned how to win." He hung up, but his silence didn't last long. Because when men like Daniel lose control, they don't vanish quietly. They strike back. And that night I saw the first sign of it. My mother called, crying. "Hope, did you tell him something?" "He came by today. Said you were spreading lies." My pulse dropped. He was getting desperate, cornered, dangerous. And I realized this wasn't just about revenge anymore. This was about survival. He wanted war. Fine, I'd give him one. But this time, I'd be the one holding the camera. You never forget the sound of your mother's voice when she's scared. It's fragile, small. The same woman who raised you, now trembling because of the same man who broke you. He came to the house, Hope. He said you were unstable, that you're making things up. My hand tightened around the phone. He what? He said you've been threatening him online, that you're obsessed. I could barely breathe. He was rewriting the story, again, flipping the script before I could even speak. Classic Daniel. Preemptive damage control. "Mom, listen to me carefully," I said. "Do not believe a single word he says. He's dangerous. Dangerous." Hope, he was calm. He said he's worried about you. And that right there, that performance, was his greatest weapon. Daniel didn't need to shout to destroy someone. He just had to sound believable. After I hung up, I sat there in the dark, my chest tight, hands trembling. I knew this part of the game. This was his pattern, isolation. He was cutting off my allies before I could expose him, and for the first time since I'd started this, I realized he wasn't going down quietly. He was going to drag me with him. 2 days later, I got an email from an unknown address. Subject, "You should stop before you embarrass yourself." Attached, screenshots of edited messages, ones I never sent. Fake text, fake confessions. It looked like I had been the one harassing him. He was framing me, digitally, effortlessly, just like he'd done to others before. I felt sick. But beneath the fear was something colder, sharper. I wasn't the same girl he'd played before. I forwarded the email to Sophie. "It's time," I wrote. "We go public. Everything." Her reply came almost instantly. "Then let's burn him down." We spent all night preparing. The recordings. The screenshots. His forever folder. The messages. Every manipulative word he'd ever sent. Sophie helped me stitch it together. A story told in his own voice. Not a rant. Not an accusation. Just facts. Evidence. His empire of control laid bare. We uploaded it anonymously. Title: The truth about Daniel Hale, in his own words. It spread faster than I could have imagined. People shared it, reacted. It hit forums, Reddit, TikTok. Hashtags appeared overnight. The Daniel effect, our forever folder. Within hours, people were coming forward. Other women. Other stories. Voices trembling yet strong. I wasn't the first. I was just the first who documented everything. But while the internet was catching fire, Daniel was unraveling. He texted me that night. Daniel, you think this is funny? Me, no, I think it's justice. Daniel, you won't win. You never could. Me, then why do you sound scared? He didn't reply. Instead, a few minutes later, my doorbell rang. My stomach dropped. 2 a.m. I wasn't expecting anyone. Through the peephole, a shadow. Still, silent. I froze. And then the voice I'd know anywhere. Hope, let's talk. My body locked up. He was here. At my door. Go away, Daniel, I said, voice trembling. You made a mistake. We can fix this. There's nothing to fix. You're scared, I get it. But you don't understand what you've started. I pressed my back against the wall, heart hammering. Every instinct screamed to stay silent, but another part of me, the new part, whispered, record this. I opened my phone camera. Hit record. Daniel, you need to leave. You're ruining my life. You ruined mine first. You think you can play victim forever. I made you. That line, I made you. That was the truth, spilling out like poison. You made me? I said softly. Then you'll die knowing you made your own destruction. I took a step closer to the door. You should go before I show everyone what you really are. Without filters, without edits, without your fake smile. Silence. And then, footsteps fading down the hall. When he was gone, I slumped to the floor, shaking, crying. Not because I was scared, but because I'd just realized something. He was scared. He was losing control. And when men like Daniel lose control, that's when they become dangerous. The next morning, Sophie called. You okay? He came to my door. You recorded it? Every word, she exhaled slowly. Good, because after today, he won't be able to touch you. Why? Because the story's not just viral anymore. It's news. A journalist reached out. They want to talk to you? My blood ran cold. The world was finally watching. And Daniel was about to find out what happens when the truth no longer belongs to him. He thought he could silence me with fear. He forgot I'd already lived through his worst. Now it was his turn to survive mine. You don't realize how loud silence can be until the whole world starts speaking your truth for you. By the next morning, my phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Hundreds of notifications, messages from strangers, voicemails from unknown numbers. The video, our video, had hit the national feed overnight. Every platform, every screen, every whisper. Daniel's name was trending, but this time it wasn't followed by admiration. It was followed by accusation. I stared at the headlines. Influencer exposed for psychological manipulation. The Forever Files, a pattern of predation. Daniel Hale, the man who filmed his love stories, like crimes. My hands were trembling as I scrolled, not because I was scared, but because I couldn't believe it was real. For so long he controlled the story. Now the world was finally seeing him without his mask, and yet, under the vindication, was fear. Because when a man like Daniel starts losing control, the danger doesn't end. It multiplies. That afternoon, the journalist reached out. Her name was Nora Wild, calm, confident, the kind of woman whose voice could make fire sound like reason. Hope, she said, you don't have to go on record. We can protect your identity. But your story, it's changing lives. People are listening. I hesitated. For months, I'd been hiding behind screens, behind anonymous uploads. Now I had to decide. Was I ready to put my face to the pain? If I speak, I asked, he'll know it's me. He already knows, Nora said softly. The difference is, Now he can't rewrite what you say. That sentence lit something inside me. A tiny, dangerous spark of freedom. Then I'll talk. The interview was surreal. Lights, cameras, questions that cut straight into my memories. Nora asked, "What did it feel like when you realized he was playing you?" I stared at the floor for a long moment before answering. "Like drowning." "But the water was made of my own trust," she asked. "Why speak now?" "Because if I don't, he wins again. And I'm done letting him win." When it aired that night, the internet erupted. The clip of me saying he made me into something he can't control anymore was everywhere. And then came the comments. Thousands. Women. Men. Survivors. This happened to me too. Thank you for giving it words. You're not alone anymore. Each message hit like a heartbeat, proof that the silence I once thought would kill me was now the sound of others waking up. But Daniel didn't disappear. Of course he didn't. The next day, he went live on his own account. Slick, calm, rehearsed. A performance as always. "You've probably heard some things about me," he began, his tone the perfect mix of wounded and wise. "None of it's true. I'm being targeted by someone unstable." He smiled into the camera. "Someone I used to love." My stomach turned. He was still playing victim, still spinning his story, but this time people weren't buying it. The comments were brutal. "Gaslighting doesn't work anymore. We saw the videos. You're done." That smile faltered halfway through his live stream. His eyes flickered. Not anger, not charm. Fear. That was the moment I knew. He wasn't untouchable anymore. He was human. And humans bleed. Later that night, Sophie came over with takeout and wine. We sat cross-legged on the floor, watching the chaos unfold online. Daniel's sponsors dropped him. His PR firm quit. The Forever brand he'd built on manipulation, gone overnight. "You did it," Sophie whispered. "You actually did it." "No," I said quietly. "We did. Every woman he hurt. Every story he buried. We dug them out together," she smiled. "So, what now?" "What's next?" I stared at the dark window, at my reflection in the glass. The version of me he'd destroyed was gone. What stared back was someone I didn't fully know yet. Someone powerful. Someone dangerous in her calm. "Now?" I said. "Now I start living again." But deep down, a shadow whispered, "It's not over." Because when men like Daniel fall, they don't just vanish. They plan. They wait. They retaliate. The next morning, I woke up to a single text from an unknown number. No name, no greeting, just 5 words. "You think it's over, Hope?" And an attachment. A photo of me leaving the interview building the night before. My heart stopped. He was watching, still. He wasn't done. And maybe, neither was I. You can expose a monster to the world. But what happens when the monster starts hunting in the light? It was almost poetic. The same ring that slipped perfectly onto my finger once upon a time. Got stuck halfway down hers. I shouldn't have been there. But I was. Hidden behind a curtain of roses and candlelight at their engagement dinner. The one my parents threw for them, with my mother smiling so proudly you'd think she hadn't just erased her own daughter from family history. The clinking of glasses. The sound of forks tapping plates. The low hum of approval. And then, congratulations to the happy couple. That's when he took her hand. Daniel. The same man who told me I was too sensitive. The same man who told me I was the one, even when his eyes lingered elsewhere. He held her trembling fingers and said, "Claire, I've loved you for so long. You're my everything." The room sighed like it was watching a movie. And then he opened the box, that familiar velvet. That same white gold band with the faint engraving inside. "Forever, my only." I froze. That was my ring. He didn't even bother to change it. Not the engraving. Not the box. Not the speech. And when he slipped it onto her finger, it didn't fit. It got stuck halfway, twisted awkwardly, almost painfully. Everyone laughed. Except me, I wanted to scream. To run in and tell them everything. That he proposed to me first. That he planned our wedding. That he kissed me in the same spot he kissed her now. But I didn't. Because I realized something. They were perfect for each other. A liar and a thief, so instead I smiled. Because the real plan had already begun. The next day, Daniel received a package. Inside, the old journal he left at my apartment months ago. The one filled with all his secrets. The one he probably forgot existed. Each page was a confession about the girls before me. The lies, the cheating, the manipulation. And guess who got an anonymous copy too? Claire. I made sure she received hers just before the rehearsal dinner. And I made sure it came with a note, written in perfect cursive. He said the same things to all of us. The only difference is that I believed him first. I imagined her face as she read it. The shaking hands. The realization hitting her like a knife twisting slowly. I didn't need to ruin their wedding. They'd do it themselves. Later that night, I stood by the mirror staring at my reflection. Same girl, different fire. I had spent years chasing validation. Chasing love that didn't want me. But now, I understood. Revenge wasn't about destruction. It was about rebirth. Daniel and Claire could have each other. They were each other's punishment. I didn't need to lift another finger. Still, a part of me wanted to see it all fall apart. And fate. It has a wicked sense of timing. Because just as I turned off my phone and tried to sleep, it buzzed. A message from an unknown number. A single picture. Claire, crying in her wedding dress. Mascara smeared. Ring on the floor, and below it on a text, "You were right about him." My heart stopped. Was it satisfaction I felt? Pity? Relief? Maybe all three, because that's when I realized the past doesn't just disappear. It haunts, it lingers, until you decide what to do with it. And I had one last thing left to do. I walked to the drawer, pulled out my ring, the same one he'd taken to propose to her. The metal was cold, sharp against my skin. I turned it over, read the engraving again. Forever my only, and then I whispered, "Not anymore." The ring clattered into the trash can with a soft metallic echo. Final. Liberating. But even as I turned away, a thought burned quietly in my chest. If he could betray me that easily? What else had he lied about? Something told me this story wasn't over yet, but I didn't know. The real betrayal hadn't even been revealed yet. Not by him. Not by her. By someone I never expected. Someone who'd been watching everything unfold. Waiting for their moment. The night before their wedding should have been my ending. But it wasn't. It was just the calm before the truth tore everything apart. When I threw that ring into the trash, I thought it was over. I thought I could finally breathe again. But you know how stories like mine go. Peace never lasts long. The next morning, I got another message. No name, no number. Just a video file. I hesitated before pressing play. My fingers trembled. My heart raced. The thumbnail showed Daniel's face. But there was someone else in the frame, too. Someone I knew. I hit play. Daniel's voice came through first. Low, rough, familiar. He was in his car, talking to someone off camera. "Don't worry," he said. "She'll never find out. Claire's clueless. And if her sister ever talks again, well, I'll handle it the same way I handled the last one." Then the camera shifted, and there she was. My mother, sitting beside him, smiling. I froze. My mother. The woman who'd always told me to forgive. Who'd told me, some people just aren't meant for you. Who had defended Daniel after everything he did. Now she was sitting in his car, laughing like they shared a secret. The video ended with her voice. Soft but cutting. "Just make sure she doesn't come back this time." That's when everything clicked. Why Daniel always knew where I'd be. Why my mother took his side. Why she kept inviting him over after he left me. It wasn't just betrayal. It was conspiracy. I couldn't breathe. I wanted to throw up. But more than anything, I wanted answers, so I drove. Straight to her house, the same one where she raised us. Where I used to feel safe. Now it felt like a crime scene. She opened the door like nothing had happened. Sweetheart, she said, smiling. You look pale. Have you eaten? I didn't even answer. I just held up my phone, played the video. Her smile dropped. She tried to reach for it. I stepped back. Why? I whispered. Tell me why, Mom. She stared at the floor, then at me. It wasn't supposed to go this far, she said finally. I just wanted you to move on. You were obsessed with him. Obsessed, I said, laughing bitterly. You mean in love? The same way you were? Her eyes flicked up, and in that silence, that unbearable silence, I knew I was right. She didn't deny it. Didn't even try. She loved him. My mother loved the man who destroyed me. I don't remember the rest clearly. Just fragments, the shouting, her tears, the sound of glass breaking, and then I left. I walked out and didn't look back. That was the night I burned it all. Every picture, every text, every memory that had chained me to them. I didn't want revenge anymore. Not the kind that hurts. Not the kind that keeps you stuck in the past. I wanted freedom. So I disappeared. I moved cities, cut ties, started over, and for the first time in years, I felt light. It's been 6 months since then. Sometimes I still see her number pop up on my phone. Sometimes I still wake up from dreams where Daniel's voice echoes in my head. But I don't answer. I don't go back because I've learned something powerful. Forgiveness isn't for them. It's for me. I built a new life. New job, new apartment, new friends who don't twist love into power. And recently, someone new came into my life. He's quiet, kind, patient. He knows about my past and doesn't flinch when I talk about it. He once asked me, "Do you ever wish you could go back and change things?" And I said no, because the girl I used to be, she needed to die so this version of me could live. Last week, I walked by a jewelry store. In the display case, there it was. A ring almost identical to the one Daniel gave me. But this time, I didn't feel anger or sadness. Just peace, because I realized I didn't need a ring to prove my worth. I didn't need anyone's proposal to define my story. I was whole on my own, and as I walked away, I caught my reflection in the glass. Confident. Calm. Alive. The girl who once begged to be chosen now chose herself. But before I end this, I'll tell you one last thing. A week ago, I got a letter. No return address. Just one line written in Daniel's handwriting. I never stopped loving you. I smiled. Folded it once and dropped it into the trash, just like that ring, because this time I chose peace over pain. Love can make us blind. Betrayal can make us bitter. But survival makes us powerful. I lost everything once. And in doing so, I found myself. So tell me, what would you have done in my situation? Let me know in the comments.